Welcome to Telugu Academy. We will be continuing with our last class, National Human Rights Commission. In previous class, we have discussed the formation of National Human Rights Commission, composition of National Human Rights Commission. As we have said, National Human Rights Commission is not a constitutional body. It's a statutory body. It's a multi-member body. Specially established for the protection of human rights of the citizens. So it's a very important body, though it's not a constitutional body, but it holds a very significant role. As we see, the Supreme Court of India, the apex court, and other high courts in various states are there to protect the fundamental rights of the citizens. Similarly, we have National Human Rights Commission, which is a statutory body, not a constitutional body, established for the protection of human rights. If the state or any other authority or private people violates the human rights, the victim could approach the National Human Rights Commission. The National Human Rights Commission can also suo motu take such cases regarding the violation of human rights. So in this class, we would be discussing the functions of National Human Rights Commission. One important thing is, when we discuss National Human Rights Commission, we need also to know that there is a provision that every state should have a state human rights commission, though the composition is slight different. In a state human rights commission, we have a chairman and 2 members. In National Human Rights Commission, we have a chairman and 4 members, and the term is similar. We have a 5 years of term or until the age of 70 years. So here in this class, we would be discussing what are the role of National Human Rights Commissions or the functions of National Human Rights Commissions. So the important function is, the National Human Rights Commission will inquire into the matters of violation of human rights. Here human rights can be violated by concerned governments or any such public authority. Wherever a common man or an individual or a group of people thinks that their rights have been violated. Here when I say rights, if the rights are fundamental rights, they could approach the court. If not the court, Supreme Court or High Court, if any other rights, any other natural rights of human beings are violated, they could approach National Human Rights Commission or State Human Rights Commission if the subject is under the state list or concurrent list. As we know, we have 3 lists in a federal system. We have a union list, state list, and concurrent list. National Human Rights Commission would inquire into the matters of union list or any other such things, and State Human Rights Commission, which has to be established in every state, will inquire into the matters of subjects mentioned under state list and concurrent list. So here in most cases, the role and functions of both National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commissions in every state would be similar, but just to understand the role, the significance or the importance of National Human Rights Commission, we would be knowing the functions of National Human Rights Commission. So inquire into the violation of human rights. So anything, any action of the state or any action of public authority, if the actions violates the human rights, then the National Human Rights Commission, which has its own investigative body, or it can also take the help of other investigative agencies of the government and inquire into such cases. Important factor here is, the National Human Rights Commission is a quasi-judicial body. As we know, it has the power of a civil court. It could issue summons, it could ask from the government on various information regarding the policies of the government, or such actions of the government which which have violated the human rights of the citizens. When we say the violation of human rights, generally what happens is the human rights are mostly violated in criminal matters. That is, the inmates can be jailed without proper procedure. That is, without proper prosecution, any person could be sentenced to jail or held capture in jails. So there is obvious a violation of human rights. Otherwise also we can have many other civil cases, like if the government constructs a project where there is a land alienation, or if the government takes away land from the people without proper compensation, even there is a thing of human rights violation. In such cases also the victim could approach National Human Rights Commission. Most of the cases where the National Human Rights Commission would interfere is where we have bonded labor, where we have forced trafficking of women, children, or we can also say that where there is a matter of insurgency, there is a matter of terrorism, like we also have very stringent laws like TADA. Like POTA, we have terrorist and destructive activities, we have prevention of terrorist activities. So these law of the government are very stringent, where most of the innocents may also at times would face punishment without proper investigation or without proper prosecution. So in that case, the National Human Rights Commission could suo moto take such cases or act on the petition of the victim. So main thing is, National Human Rights Commission will inquire into such violations of human rights which has to be protected in general by the state government, but in some cases the state government's action may take away the natural rights of common citizen. So the actions may be by public servant. If the public servant action could, if takes away the natural rights of the people, then also the National Human Rights Commission, that is NHRC, would interfere. It can also take the cases on its own. So suo motoli also National Human Rights Commission could take the cases. Generally, if there is any case which has wider publicity, for example, we have many cases of rape, torture or custodial deaths. In that cases, there is a lot of publicity in media, in electronic media, in print media, or even on social media, that is platforms of social media. So that cases can be taken by the NHRC, and the NHRC would also take cases by petitions presented or filed by the victim. So the victim, they themselves can file the cases, or any party on behalf of that victim can approach National Human Rights Commission. Generally, we see many pressure groups or NGOs, non-governmental organizations, or any sympathetic group would approach National Human Rights Commission for the protection of natural rights of a citizen. So one is inquiring into the violation of such allegations or such violation of human rights. The National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, would also intervene in proceeding involving allegations of violations. So for example, we have a big case of rape, torture. For example, we had a case of Nirbhaya in Delhi. So in that, the National Human Rights Commission can also intervene in the proceedings, because it is established to protect the human rights or natural rights of the people. So it could also intervene in the process of inquiry or process of prosecution, or it can also recommend the governments, concerned governments, either the central government or state governments, on how to prepare a policy. If the policy contains any matter which have intention or which could violate the human rights of the people, in that also the National Human Rights Commission can intervene. Only thing is, NHRC primarily has a recommendatory role to play. So National Human Rights Commission cannot compensate anyone on its own, neither the National Human Rights Commission could punish person. So, it can only recommend the government on its various process. So, it intervenes in proceedings involving allegations of violations of human rights. Generally, we see that in central prisons or jails, there are many cases of violation of human rights. Without proper trial, without proper prosecution, many persons are jailed. So, in that there may be a lot of human rights violation, there may be a torture, custodial torture, or there may be things of violating their natural rights. Such rights, to restore such rights, the National Human Rights Commission would work. So, in this process, the National Human Rights Commission, their members or any such dignitaries could visit jails or detention centers, to know or to ensure the living conditions of such inmates. Because we generally see that in such places only, in jails, detention centers, there is a lot of violation of human rights. This is an important function to review the constitutional and other safeguards. When we say human rights are violated, there might be some loophole in the constitution, or there might be some agency which is working against the spirit of the constitution. So, broadly speaking, we have to know, we have to understand how the agency works, how the governance works, what are those loopholes where a person or a normal person there is a chance of getting their human rights violated. So, to review the constitution, the National Human Rights Commission also studies on various matters regarding the safeguards of such agencies to protect human rights. So, to review the constitution and make proper recommendations to the president regarding such matters which could restore the human rights, or which could minimize the violation of human rights in the process of governance. That is one thing. And we also have to know that to review the factors including the acts of insurgency, terrorism. In many sensitive areas, we generally see that there is a lot of extremism, there is a lot of insurgency in northeastern states of India. We also see that there are many stringent laws. For example, we have armed forces law. So, those laws will empower the personnel, that is army personnel, to enter any house, any premises without prior intimation or without any warrant. They could arrest anyone, because those are the sensitive areas where there is a lot of law and order violation. So, in that process, obviously in the interest of the larger section of the people, or in the interest of the national security, the army forces may have more power, to search, to arrest, to detain such persons. So, in that cases, there may be a chances of human rights violation. As we have seen, APSPA is a special power given to the army personnel to detain any person without a proper arrest warrant. So, to study such laws, to study such stringent laws of the government where there may be a chances of violation of human rights. As we have seen in Manipur, there is a lot of public protest to repeal such draconian law of the army. So, to review the factors including the terrorism, we have seen terrorism, we had many stringent laws, like we had TADA, we have POTA. So, these are the things which were very stringent, which had a lot of law or bylaws which could arrest a person without a proper warrant, or could detain them under the Preventive Detention Act. So, these are few laws which had to be reviewed, and National Human Rights Commission have given very good recommendations to minimize the things which could violate the human rights. So, because the National Human Rights Commission is again inspired from the international protocol, like we had many agencies where no national human rights of the people are given more priority. So, the NHRC would also study such treaties, and it would recommend the government on such treaties, because it's a very dynamic process. Earlier we used to just cherish the constitution or the actions of the states, but here the significance or the focus now is given on human rights. So it could be anything, the property, the functions of any common man, the businesses and all. So the National Human Rights Commission would also study the treaties and other agreements. We make agreements with other nations. We have bilateral agreements, we have multilateral agreements, we have various other international groups which strengthens the bond between the countries. So the NHRC would also study on such agreements and recommend to the government on various factors. So to study the treaties and other international agreements on human rights across the world, that is international institutions. And it also does work, that is research work, because it's a very vast subject. Human rights are not similar across the world. We would be generally seen that in democratic countries, the natural rights of the people, that is human rights, are more to be taken care of. In some other countries, we would be seeing in dictatorial countries there is a lot of violation on human rights. So depending upon the political system of the country also, the human rights would function. Depending upon the system of the government, depending upon the nature of the ruling of the government also, we would be seeing the violations of human rights. So the National Human Rights Commission would also study and make research in such programs in the field of human rights. So to promote the human rights, the NHRC would also do the research work, because to just make a recommendations, it has to have a very deep understanding of human rights and its violations across the world. So we could expect a very good recommendations, or the government should accept such recommendations on very rational approach. So it will undertake the research program in the field of human rights. One more thing is we need to generate awareness. Awareness has to be spread among the people. Everyone has to know about their rights. Then only there is a deterrent type of thing, that the government could not come with such policies which could take away the human rights or their fundamental rights. So to spread the knowledge, to spread the awareness of human rights, the National Human Rights Commission will also take up such programs which could promote the awareness regarding human rights to the citizens. It also encourages, the National Human Rights Commission, which is a statutory body, which also encourages other such agencies. We could see that the government cannot do all the work. So we have some non-governmental organizations also, voluntary groups or pressure groups, which will act in behalf of the people, or the NGOs or other pressure groups would try to protect the human rights of such citizens. So it is also the function of the National Human Rights Commission to encourage, to support, to strengthen such non-governmental organizations or any other pressure groups which works for the protection of human rights in the country. So to encourage the efforts of NGOs, NGOs are non-profit and also non-governmental organizations which work for the betterment of the society. So it is also the duty of the NHRC to promote and encourage such NGOs which are working towards the protection of human rights in the nation, and also to undertake such other functions where the human rights are to be protected, or to minimize the violation of human rights. We cannot generally say that human rights can be restored 100%, or the state action in sometimes may for few people it may take away their human rights, but in general, the NHRC would try to promote and protect the human rights, and in that process it would take many other functions which deemed necessary. So, as we say, National Human Rights Commission has the power of civil court, that is, the Human Rights Commission can summon people, can give notices, it could act as a civil court. But one thing to say here is, here the National Human Rights Commission will not punish on its own. So, it will be recommendatory in nature. It recommends the government on such punishments. Though it has its own investigative agency, NHRC can also take the help of other investigative agencies in the process of investigation of such acts which violates national human rights or human rights of the people. So, it will follow the process of a civil procedure code. So, in this process it acts as a quasi judicial body or a civil court. So, civil court's power means it could summon, enforce attendance of such officers, or it could ask for the documents, material documents or evidences where there is a violation of human rights. And it also tries to take the evidences, that is production of any documents, or having filing of such documents which has effect on violation of human rights. So, these are the powers of Human Rights Commission. It can also demand a record, because in bureaucratic system or in any such other system, there is a lot of there is no transparency. Obviously, after a Right to Information Act, we could able to take information from the government, but otherwise the government was very secretive, and in such processes the evidence may not come out. So, NHRC can demand for such records or evidences from the office. So, because it has the power of civil court, the National Human Rights Commission can demand any public authority for its records, and it also can issue summons for its witnesses of such evidences. So, we may have individual witnesses or witnesses in the nature of documents, recorded documents. So, NHRC also has power to demand such records from public offices. So, there was a lot of amendments brought to the National Human Rights Commission by passing a bill in 2006. It has changed many provisions of National Human Rights Commission. So, basically it has made arrangements regarding composition of State Human Rights Commission. It has reduced the members of State Human Rights Commission from 5 to 3. Today, at this time, we have 1 chairman and 2 members of the State Human Rights Commission. So, this is a major amendment which has gone in recent time. So, as we said, in this amendment in 2006, the number of members of State Human Rights Commission, here the members have been reduced from 5 to 3 in State Human Rights Commission, not National Human Rights Commission. It is that every state should have a State Human Rights Commission, and the members have been reduced from 5 to 3. Now, we have 1 chairman, that is 1 chairman and 2 members, and also eligibility conditions have been modified in the appointment of members of State Human Rights Commission. So, very important amendments which we have made by the 2006 Act. We have modified few things, and here we also by this Amendment Act 2006, we have strengthened the investigative things of National Human Rights Commission. As we know, National Human Rights Commission or State Human Rights Commission have to investigate in the matters of violations of human rights. So, the nature of investigation have been strengthened. Here the Human Rights Commission can use its own investigative body or can take the help of other investigative agencies. Here to come to any conclusion, there have to be a detailed investigation, because there might be a lot of allegations against the government or against any public authority in the matter of violation of human rights. There may not be any real things also, or there may be any political game where the other parties could allege on the government regarding the violation of human rights. So the National Human Rights Commission have to be very transparent, very balanced in its approach. So it has to investigate the details of such violations in a very very rational and very technical way. So in that case, this act has amended that it has strengthened the investigative material available with the National Human Rights Commission or State Human Rights Commission. So it also empowered the commission for the compensation. Generally before this, the Human Rights Commission did not had the power or authority to compensate, or they did not have authority to punish. But by this act now, the NHRC can compensate the victims, or they can recommend on the compensation of the victims. Okay. So here one more amendment here is this amendment has empowered the Human Rights Commission to visit jails or detention centers without informing the state governments. What generally happens is, when a team visits the jail or detention centers, generally what happens is they will cover up most of the matters of violations of human rights. So if the NHRC or State Human Rights Commission visits any jail with prior information, the things will be changed there. Now the amendment have empowered the Human Rights Commission to visit jail or any detention center without intimating the state governments. So this is a very big change which could make a real picture clear to the Human Rights Commission. They can visit to such centers where the violation has been made, or where the allegations of violations is done. So in that places, the team of Human Rights Commission could visit. And it has also in this amendment we have seen that there is a strengthening of evidence regarding witnesses. So the witnesses can also be taken by National Human Rights Commission. So we have other amendments regarding this. We can say that the National Human Rights Commission can transfer their complaints to the concerned State Human Rights Commission. Generally, the National Human Rights Commission is burdened with many of cases. So on various subjects which are mentioned in state list or concurrent list, or the place of violation of human rights. So here the National Human Rights Commission can transfer such cases to concerned state also. So here chairpersons, enabling the chairpersons and the members of NHRC to address their resignation in writing to the president. Here the president, though the State Human Rights Commission members are appointed by the governor, they have to be removed by the president only, or their removal, their resignation letter is also submitted to the president. And here chairman and members of the SHSC to the governor of the state concerned. When the matters now after this amendment, we could see that the resignation letter could be given to the governor if the State Human Rights Commission chairman or members want to resign from their post. Now the governor is the authority where such resignation letter could be submitted. So we also know that in National Human Rights Commission there are ex officio members also, that is members of National Commission for SC, ST, and we also have members from National Commission for Women. Such ex officio persons are made, they are deemed to be members of the National Human Rights Commission, because before this act, they were ex officio members, they are not permanent members of the commission, but after this amendment, they are deemed to be the members of the National Human Rights Commission. So this is regarding international agreements, conventions, covenants, which the National Human Rights Commission would be taking those recommendations for the strengthening of the agency of National Human Rights Commission, and to make better environment for the living conditions. So this is again, we have amendment, we have introduced a bill in 2019 which has provided for appointment of National Human Rights Commission, where two persons are to be taken who have deep knowledge and understanding on human rights, are appointed as the members of the National Human Rights Commission. Just to understand, we have National Human Rights Commissions and the State Human Rights Commissions in various states, which generally have similar functions of National Human Rights Commission, that is protection of human rights. So we will have a quick check here. We will take few questions just for the understanding of the subject. National Human Rights Commission is we have to know that it is not a constitutional body. The National Human Rights Commission is a statutory body, and it is also a multilateral institutions, multi-member body. So the answer would be both A and C. Here we can eliminate the option here, it is not a constitutional body. So who is the current chairman of the National Human Rights Commission? At present we have H.L. Dattu, who is the current chairman of the National Human Rights Commission. Generally, National Human Rights Commission, the chairman will be a retired Chief Justice of India, because that is the highest body, that is the highest legal body, being Chief Justice of India, that is Chief Justice of Supreme Court. So retired Chief Justice of India would be acting as a chairman of the National Human Rights Commission. And if we take the State's Human Rights Commission, the High Court's Chief Justice can be the chairman of the State Human Rights Commission. So who can be appointed as the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission? Any sitting judge of the Supreme Court? No, not judge of the Supreme Court. Any retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, CJI, Chief Justice of India. Chief Justice of India is the retired Chief Justice of Supreme Court, Chief Justice. So only Chief Justice of Supreme Court, that is retired Chief Justice of Supreme Court, could be appointed as the chairman of the Human Rights Commission. So this is the correct answer. Any person appointed by the President? No. Retired Chief Justice of any High Court. Retired Chief Justice of High Court would be chairman of State Human Rights Commission. So here, when we are talking about National Human Rights Commission, it has to be any retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So what is the tenure of the chairman of National Human Rights Commission? As we know, the tenure is 5 years. The tenure is 5 years or up to 70 years of the age. And one more thing we need to remember is, once the chairman or members completes their term, they are not eligible for further appointment. So here the answer is 5 years or until the 70 years of the age. Who of the following is not included in the committee constituted for the appointment of the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission? As we know, we have an appointment committee here, and in this, the President is not included. President is not included in the appointment committee. We have Prime Minister who heads such committee. We have Home Minister. We have Lok Sabha Speaker. We have Deputy Speaker of the Rajya Sabha. And we also have two leaders, that is opposition leaders from both Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. President is the appointing authority. National Human Rights Commission's chairman and members are appointed by the President on the recommendations made by the panel headed by the Prime Minister. So in this question, President is not part of the appointing committee constituted for the appointment of such dignitaries. Where is the headquarters of the National Human Rights Commission? As we know, National Human Rights Commission is now headquartered in Delhi. We also have the provisions that National Human Rights Commission can also set up their branches anywhere across the country. But at present, Delhi is the base where we have National Human Rights Commission. Which of the following is not the functions of National Human Rights Commission? Not the functions. We have to be very careful when answering such questions. Not the function of the National Human Rights Commission. To interfere in the proceedings related to human rights violation case pending in the court. This is true because we've done this when we are now talking about the functions of Human Rights Commission. This is correct answer. Actually, this is a function of the National Human Rights Commission. Protecting the human rights of the prisoners. This is also true. This is also function. To provide economic compensation to any human rights violation. See, the National Human Rights Commission will directly not compensate. It will recommend on the compensation of such violations of human rights. So, answer is C. This is not the function. This is not the direct function of the commission. It has a recommendatory nature, and in general the recommendations of the National Human Rights Commission are not ignored by the governments, be it central government or the state government. The recommendations are they will in general accept such recommendations because it's a very specialized body headed by Chief Justice of India. So, the recommendations are in general accepted by the government. And obviously, we have seen that promoting research in the field of human rights, yes, it will study into the various matters at international agreements, international conventions, and it will try to add such experiences in the recommendations made by NHRC to the government. To provide economic compensation is not a direct function. So, here in this question, answer would be C. When did the NHRC of India constituted? In 1993 is the year where NHRC is constituted, both at state and union level. Here when we say Central National Human Rights Commission, it's at national level. So, NHRC consists of a chairman. It's a 5-member body in total, 1 chairman and 4 members. So, we have chairman and 4 members. Chairman and 4 members. In State Human Rights Commission, we have chairman and 2 members. Which of the following can be the chairman of NHRC? So, we have already done this. Which of the following can be the chairman? Chairman is any retired Chief Justice of Supreme Court. Anyone who is appointed by the President, any sitting judge of the Supreme Court. So, here the answer would be Chief Justice of the Supreme Court could be the chairman of National Human Rights Commission. So, we also have a State Human Rights Commission whose functions are similar to National Human Rights Commission. Every state has to be set up its own national or state human rights commission, which is the agency or which is a body to protect the human rights of the citizens. Thank you for watching this video.